It is Wednesday night. The Central Coast men, we think, may have just wrapped up the premiership while we've been recording, and on the men's side of things, but we're here to talk the women's. So let's throw the men right out the window and dive into our biggest week of the year, guys. It is grand final week. We officially know who is playing. We know where it's being played. Happy days, Cody. How are we this week, my friend? Off awards nights and training. How are we feeling?
Mate, this week has been absolutely chaos. I think I had about an hour before training tonight where I had a little bit of free time to sit down and have a nap. Otherwise, it has been full guns blazing between work, family commitments. I was at the Wanderers Medal night last night at the time of recording, of course. It won't be last night by the time this goes to air. But yeah, life's been both great and absolute chaos. But it is what it is.
It is what it is. Michelle, you are gearing up for an away trip to end all away trips this week. How are you feeling ahead of the big game this weekend?
Pretty good, pretty excited. Because I go and support my team. Unlike Cody, who says he supports one team and then ends up at the awards night of another team.
I got an invite. I wasn't going to say no.
Yeah, we know why.
I love a good Marconi trip.
Because you're a big fan.
This is where we insert the audio clip from last week of Cody being like, I need to get rid of this tag of being a Wanderers fan.
I was there as a guest. That's all I'll say.
You get invited because you go to all their games, because you're a big fan.
It's easy. It's easy to get to.
Capo of active support. Cody's the new RBB leader. Let's go.
Definitely not.
All right, guys, let's wrap up the two games that did happen this weekend. Second legs, one a lot closer than the other. Let's start in Melbourne, where the Jets, although they should have had about 7 in the first 10 minutes, could not find the back of the net. I was ready to celebrate so many times, and it just was not meant to be. The all-out attack that we were saying did come. Melina Ayres getting the start, Izzy Nino back in goals. Everything looked really good going forward, just nothing hitting the back of the net. Melbourne City ending up running away with the game 3-0 to make it a 6-0 overall on aggregate. Cody, what did you see of the game? Obviously, tough way for Newcastle to bow out, but their best ever finish in an A-League season. How do they look? Apparently, the Jets have been sold as well. So, how do things look towards next season for the Jets?
Oh, look, if the club's got an owner next year, it brings a whole new light. Look, it depends how much effort they put into the women's program as well. That's another question you've always got to ask externally, but in general, it's good for just the people of Newcastle to make sure that their football club stays alive. Track it back to the football that was played on the weekend, of course. Honestly, one of those shots go in the first 10 minutes. I don't want to say Jets end up finding their way back into the match, but it is a very, very different outlook. The reality is, I don't want to say the game was closer than what the scoreline suggested. City were good value for what they were able to put out, but the way that game plays out is because Newcastle are throwing so much forward, and you've got to abandon defensive duties a little bit. It's classic finals football. You're chasing a 3-0 loss. You're not going to exactly focus too much on, okay, let's make sure we get a clean sheet today. That's got to be our goal. No, you're going to throw everything forward. You're going to do what you can do. Unfortunately, you're doing it against a City side that, if you do give them a bit of space, they can take advantage of it quite well. And that's what they did. So, look, the scoreline probably blew out the way it did because Newcastle had to go and do what they did on the weekend. I thought they did it quite well. I think to an extent they were unlucky, maybe not to get a result, but maybe unlucky not to get on the score sheet. That's probably a better way to put it. But they can hold their heads up high. People will look at it as a 6-0 loss in aggregate, but you know what? They gave it to the best team in the league in that away from home. I'd be happy with their efforts if I'm a Newcastle fan.
100%. Michelle, I'm going to hit you with a loaded question as I throw it to you tonight.
Here we go.
If you had to choose between Bubs or Barbara in goal to come up against this week, who going against?
Bubs.
Obviously, Bubs. Barbara, for those that missed the game, did get subbed off at halftime with sickness. My guess is she will be bouncing back from that and she will be in goal, but Michelle did not even have to think 2 seconds about that just then.
I'd much rather Bubs and goals. Wouldn't that be fun for all of us? Hilarious.
Now I've got the thought stuck in my head. Michelle, with City, obviously Sydney played 2 really kind of tight games against Central Coast, second one being ending in a draw, which we'll touch on in a second. How much do you take away from City running over Newcastle 6-0 to what you guys went through at 2-1 and look towards this week? Is it a matter of opponent and just that was what was expected? And what do you see from City coming this week to your Sky Blues?
Yeah, look, I think it's very different because I think the Mariners are a very physical side and they play this sort of football that's it's very physical. City does not play a very physical game, right? They're very technical. So the gameplay is very different. And I think sometimes when you are a team that wants to play sort of like more of a high press, like Sydney likes to play, they can't do that when they're playing against a team that's hacking at their ankles half the time. So it's a very different game. And yeah, City and the Mariners are 2 very different teams. So Sydney needs to, I guess, mentally prepare to be playing a team that's going to be a lot more clinical, a lot more technical in their play. They're not going to be, trying to ball them over and win the ball back with a shoulder barge. It's going to be, a lot of passing because I'm pretty sure City has like some of the most passes as well and some of the better passing accuracy in the league as well. So yeah, it's it'll be a very different game. It might be a slower moving game as well, potentially, just because of the different gameplay. But yeah.
It'll be interesting to say the least. Cody, you mentioned it last week. Friend of the pod, Mackenzie Hawkesby, scoring in leg 1. She went and did it again. 2 goals in 2 games for Sydney since she's been on the show. Not to say that we're the lucky charm, but
that's exactly what I was saying.
That's exactly what we are.
Clearly,
fucking go for it. Friend, one appearance on the pod. We've had one player on this podcast, and they have gone and
scored in every game since they've been on.
Exactly. So you know what?
All we can say, Michelle, is if Mackenzie makes another goal this weekend, you're welcome.
Do not jinx this. Don't jinx it. If it works, we'll talk about it if it works.
Hey, it's looking good so far.
So obviously,
any women's striker that's
Should we get Shay Connors on the pod?
Just everybody. Let's go.
That's harsh. She has been injured this year.
Shay Connors? Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Anyone that hasn't scored in a while, if you want to get your scoring boots back, we've got the secret recipe. It's called
anyone from Adelaide want to come on?
No. They won't be allowed.
Not if they're playing Sydney that weekend.
All right, let's focus in. Sydney Central Coast 1-1 draw. Michelle, I quite literally saw you have your back to this game nearly the entire time. So going to be hard to get your exact opinion. For anyone that didn't...
the stupid cameraman was so close and just literally was right behind me. Like, can you not? Like, some of these camera people need to literally just learn.
Hey, but like, active support, getting camera time. Let's go.
I don't care. Like, like, learn the culture. Like, you don't need to be right behind somebody to get to see that there's active support going on. Like, get out of my face.
1-1 draw, ending in a Sydney win. Central Coast left it. I think they left it late, didn't they?
End of the first half.
43, yeah. So
if you look at it in the context of the 2 legs, maybe a little bit, but
there you go. Thanks, Cody.
Not
Thanks
so
for
much
backing me up, my guy. Macca making it 2-0 after the 30th minute. What was the vibe like in the stadium, Michelle? There seemed like, from the camera footage of everyone panning around the crowd, there looked like there was actually like an extension of active support, like a lot of people in the stadium following kind of the Cove's lead on chants and things like that. What was the vibe from like your perspective in that?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, there was a lot of people there. A lot of people wanting to be involved. The Cove started out quite small from the start, and then it picked up. And everyone came in, got involved, and it was awesome. The hill was packed, the grandstand was packed. Felt like a lot more than 7,000 people. I don't know where they got 7,000 from. I feel like it was more than that. Felt more like 10K or something. But it was great. It was a really good vibe.
That's the joy of like Leichhardt and things like that as well, though. Like those smaller grounds lend themselves to making those thousands feel like even more thousands when you've got the right atmosphere in there. Cody, what did you like by the looks of this game? Obviously, Central Coast tried to get everything going in that second half, just couldn't find the back of the net. Obviously, rough way to bow out, but again, one of those performances, both them and the Jets this year, we had them kind of teetering on that mid-table clash, maybe getting into finals. Both of them push all the way through to the final four. What do you see from the Central Coast side that you look towards next year?
Honestly, I'm not surprised where Mariners ended up, to be honest. As much as I said they were probably going to peter on finals, I didn't think they'd end up making it in there. I had a feeling that they were capable of it if things sort of clicked for them. Maybe I was a little bit surprised that they're able to finish as high as what they did. That's impressive in itself, and I'm definitely not trying to take anything away from it. It's been absolutely fabulous season for themselves. But they definitely have the quality, and I think even the brain power. Emily Husband, anyone that's watched the NPL would know she's a quality coach. Like there's not a scrub team that they've put together last minute or anything like that. It was organized well. It was done really, really well. They had every chance to actually go on and do the season that they're always capable of achieving what they ended up going through this season. You're coming up against the Sydney FC side in semi-finals. That's a quality side that knows finals football, that has been in this situation God knows how many times. I think, Michelle, you're going to have to correct me on this. Is this like their 7th final in a row or
Seventh
something?
consecutive.
Yeah, that's absolutely nuts. So they're always going to be up against it once they hit this stage of the season. But it's like the Jets. If I'm a Mariners fan, especially the way they kind of went out, they took a game to Sydney FC. As much as, Michelle, I know you were kind of petering on they were a little bit rough on us, kicking the shit out of us a little bit. That's their style of play. If as a neutral, I'm not going to be too phased about that. But there's a lot that Mariners can be proud of. And I think they've got a system, they've got a culture, and even almost even stylistically, something that they can really build on moving forward. I'm excited to see what they do next season. Maybe 1 or 2 big names as well. I know they did bring in Kai Simon this year, but it's probably not a big name that's actually going to have a massive impact on the field at the stage of the career she's in, unfortunately. But I think there's a platform there for them to actually really kick on and do something special next year as well. Depends how much of their squad they can retain, how much they can bring in as well. If they lose 3 or 4 key players, then it's probably going to be a different outlook. Be interesting to see if services are called for Rolla Barawi. I'm sure she'll gain attention after the season she's had because she's been absolutely fantastic. Pettitrimus, another one. But if you keep a hold of those kinds of players, especially someone like Pettitrimus, I think she could do with at least another 2 years in the
100%. It's going to be very interesting to see those squad changes and moves over the coming months as we head towards a new season. Obviously, nothing will really fall into place until that August-September period. But it's going to be interesting to see, especially these top 7-8 teams that really kind of fought throughout the year, how much change happens. We saw with Canberra this year, not a lot of change happened, and it was almost a reverse role of what their season was like to the previous year. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens heading forward. Speaking of heading forward, we're heading towards a grand final. So exciting times. It is the absolute pinnacle of our season. This is it. One last game to decide our champion. One stat I will throw at Michelle that I know she probably won't like to hear of: 100% win record in finals for Melbourne City. That being said, the wins that they have had, their squads have been absolutely stacked with Matildas that are now overseas playing in the WSL. Cody, what do you look at this game and go, yeah, do you have any inkling of what way it could swing? I'm leaning on the fact that it's probably not going to be a huge crowd like we've seen from Melbourne. There wasn't a huge crowd at the second leg semi. So I don't think that really has an impact being a home game, which could be an interesting kind of advantage for Sydney in a way. But what do you see heading to Melbourne for the last game?
I don't know if it'll be a poor crowd or anything like that. I think it's a grand final. You'll get neutrals that want to go there. Whether the atmosphere is great or not is probably the question that you can pose. But surely, especially the way the trajectory women's football is going on at the moment, there's got to be people that are going to want to go to the league's showpiece event. Is it going to be a full 30,000 seat stadium? I'd love it to be. I'm definitely not going to complain if it isn't. Don't think it'll happen, but I'd be surprised if you get any less than 6,000 to 7,000 people. I don't know if I'm living in a fantasy land or anything like that, but I think that should be a very, very realistic target considering Sydney FC were able to pull that for a semi-final. This is a grand final.
I mean, Newcastle did it.
Yeah, in saying that, City only had 2,000 for their semi-final. There is a difference, Cody, and it's like
it's a difference, but it's also
like
a grand
this is.
final.
But that's what I'm saying. If we're thinking 6,000 is a good crowd for a grand final, that's a joke, right? Like,
look, whether it's a good crowd or not for a grand final is a different question. But I think it's capable of it still.
But it's not record breaking. Yeah. And that's what everyone's talking about, right? They're all saying we want a record breaking crowd for the grand final, which is all well and good, but like realistically, it's probably not going to happen. And like I don't want to disrespect City in that way, but like that is the reality.
Yeah. Look, just before I'm going to sidetrack for a sec because I've got a question for you, Michelle. Actually, because you are the Sydney FC fan and expert here. If Sydney don't have to travel to Uzbekistan for a competition, yeah. Do they host the final this week?
No.
That's not the answer I was expecting.
We picked up form later on in the season. It wasn't like, and it was a brand new team, essentially. And that trip to Uzbekistan probably helped them more in terms of learning how to play with each other in a competition that meant nothing, where they didn't have to worry about losing points in the A-League competition. So, no, I don't think that necessarily matters. I think it's about what happens at the end of the season because realistically, this team probably should not have been at the top of the table. This team had injuries galore. We lost our captain. We lost
key defenders.
But we lost Fiona Wirtz early. We lost Shay Connors for a number of time, and then we also ended up losing Kirsty Fenton at the back end. And we have a lot of really young players. And then we've also lost Maddie Caspers towards the end of the season as well. So realistically, no. If the Uzbekistan trip didn't happen, would we be hosting the grand final? Probably not. It probably wouldn't make a difference.
Interesting.
It's fair enough. Anyway, back to the match. Yeah, the actual match, not what's happening in the stands, what's happening on the pitch. I know, Michelle, you mentioned before, you were talking about some stats with Melbourne City and their high possession side, high passing side. Most accurate passes per match, 427.6. The next highest is 331, which is Adelaide United, which actually kind of shocks me. I didn't realise they were able to hold on to the ball that well. If only we could do something with it. And the other one was the average possession per match, 61.6. So if you're asking what I'm expecting from this match, I'm going to be honest with you, Josh, kind of expecting a bit of a slow one. But BK, it's a grand final, so it's automatically going to be a bit of a cagey affair. No one's going to want to leave any gaps for other teams to exploit, especially when you're a Melbourne City side facing Courtney Vine or a Sydney FC side facing Amina Ekic and Daniela Galic. It'll be a bit of a cagey affair. City's going to hold on to the ball. When Sydney FC get the ball, they can hold on to the ball well too. I wouldn't be surprised if this game ends up being like a 1-0, very, very, very narrow game. Either way, I don't know if I can pick a winner at this stage. I'd rather talk about it.
With the script that's been written this year so far, final spots coming down to the last day, premiership coming down to the last day, does this go to penalties?
I don't think
I wouldn't rule it out.
I wouldn't rule it out either because the last two meetings in that Melbourne City have hosted have ended in draws, 0-0 and 1-1 respectively. So, I mean, possible. Yeah, it's possible. I just don't think it will. I hope it doesn't. Maybe that's just my wishful thinking.
We might not see Michelle on Friday. That would be the end of her. Yeah, very interesting. You don't want to go through another penalty shootout in a year, Michelle. Wouldn't that be fun?
No one likes penalty shootouts. Shut up,
Oh,
Cody.
They're
look,
fun.
to be fair, I like the World Cup was enough for me. I could never ever do that again. Like,
No.
that was
They
I'm
are
I'm
too
with you on that.
stressful.
Too much. All right, it'll be all left in the hands of the players. Playing at Amy Park, I believe. Yes, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yep. Amy Park this weekend. You can get tickets now. There's probably a ton still available, so make sure you go and check it out if you're in and around the Melbourne area or making a trip down. Make sure to be there to catch all the action. If not, you'll be able to catch it all on Paramount Plus, and we will have our wrap up on Monday as well. But big news out of Talking Tilly's camp before we do jet overseas, because this and Monday will not be our official wrap up of the 2023-24 season. It will be kind of our precursor to the major event. If you're following us on social media, if you're not, make sure you are at Talking Tillies. You would have seen this week that we're launching our own award show. Exciting times in Talking Tillies Wonderland. But we are teaming up with the incredible team at I Want It Yesterday to bring you guys the Concord Awards, which is a little brain spark that we've had ourselves, which I'm super excited about. We're going to be throwing our own awards show together. You're going to see it on YouTube, social media, the whole lot. The three of us are going to be in the same room for the first time in this show's history, which is still insane to think about. It's been a year and we all
In
haven't
general,
been in the
to
same
be
room.
honest, I don't think I've actually met you yet, Josh.
You haven't, no. Yeah, Michelle's the only one that's actually shown up to things.
Yeah.
It's been great.
You haven't come down to Wanderers Football Park, mate.
Oh, now you're a Wanderers fan. Let's go.
I didn't say I was a Wanderers fan. I just said that's where I am.
So, yes, we are going to be all in the same room at the same time recording an insane end to the season. You will see our nominees for the awards dribbled over the next week before the big show release over, I believe it will be the weekend. We'll keep you in touch with when that's actually going to be released. But super exciting times. We are going to finalize all our nominations and everything tonight after we finished recording. But yeah, that'll be our wrap up to the season. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Heading overseas, we are heading into the final rounds of the WSL. Liverpool-Chelsea play this weekend. I have seen that Chelsea-Bristol have just sold out their final home game of the season. So that'll be very interesting. I think it's next week. No, 2 weeks. Meanwhile, City got rid of Bristol 4-0 overnight. And I think that was I think they were already officially relegated, but Bristol are officially going back down to the championship.
Man United.
Yeah, I think we called that right at the start of the year. United beat Leicester. Tottenham drew 1-1 with Brighton. Villa drew 1-1 with West Ham. Don't think, and Arsenal drew 1-1 with Everton as well. I know, Michelle, you weren't too excited about that, but I think it's going to be a very interesting run. Chelsea is still within touch. This game against Tottenham midweek is what is going to kind of determine whether they stay within reach of City heading into the final 2 weeks. So it could be a very interesting run over there. NWSL action, as I search it up slowly. Sorry, I can't type tonight, guys. My bad. A lot of the games are playing over the next little bit, so we don't have full results as of recording just yet. San Diego Wave did beat Bay FC 2-0 this weekend. Portland Thorns got up over Chicago Red Stars, and Racing Louisville drew with Gotham FC. Not that those teams have any Australians in them other than San Diego. Any other things that I missed? Polly Doran's Crystal Palace officially promoted into the WSL. So hopefully she does sign another contract, because there's a bandwagon that Cody's definitely going to jump on. Let's go, Cody.
I love a good bandwagon. It's great.
The king of bandwagons.
this is how good is this end of the season, guys? These episodes get shorter and shorter as we go along. How awesome is this? So good.
Cody can go have a shower soon.
I know, right? We can smell him through the camera for those of you watching at home. We're going to get this
will
into
need it
5D very soon. Let's open the mic up. Any footballing things, any things that's happened during the week that you guys need to be aware of from your perspectives, anything we want to share or throw around?
I'm pretty sure this happened this week, and as much as I'd like to mention it, I'm probably just not a surprise to anyone that it happened, but Ellie Carpenter, Champions League final. That's pretty cool.
He's
It's
good.
what, third or fourth?
Third, I think.
Third? There we go. Hopefully she doesn't do her ACL in this one.
Oof. Why would you say
I
that?
don't jinx it either.
Why would you say
Jesus,
that, Cody?
That might be
Hopefully she
the
doesn't
worst
again.
thing. Like, I've heard you say some bad things on this podcast, Cody. That is up there for probably a bleepable offense, just so everybody else doesn't have to hear it.
I don't know.
I think on the other side of things, Chelsea bowing out. I think obviously Barcelona, I think it's very interesting. Emma Hayes might walk away from this season with 0 trophies in her final season with Chelsea before heading to the US national team. Not the fairy tale ending that I'm guessing she was expecting this year. Cody's got a sly grin on his face. I can see that. Michelle let out a little laugh. But yeah, definitely I think it's a rough look for Chelsea fans around the world at the moment. Yeah, obviously Barcelona too good, but as we kind of expect from them now, but still one of those things that you kind of go, would Sam have made a difference?
Possibly. I don't know. I know there was a
Do not
stage where
have the stats on me.
Yeah, I don't
Interesting.
know. I'm not
I'll
sure.
fact check that and we'll bring it up next week.
There we go.
But yeah, very interesting. Hopefully Tottenham do the job this weekend and make it a very interesting, or tomorrow Tottenham play, and make it a very interesting run. Not that I want to see Man City lift a trophy, but
It has been a while for them, I think. It's been a little bit since City's won the league.
2016.
Hey, at least we'd see
Yeah.
Fowler and AK lift a trophy. So there's a little light in every door.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
I'd be here for it. Michelle, anything wonderful or wacky to spread around the world this week?
No, I guess, I know I've been pretty negative about the what the crowd might look like for this grand final, but the only way to make a difference is to show up and do your part. Like everyone is, there's obviously going to be a lot of Sydney supporters who are naturally frustrated because of the clash between the men's team and the women's team, and in a cost of living crisis, like not everyone's going to be able to travel down. But if you're in Melbourne, come along, come to the game. The tickets aren't expensive, and come witness history, because either way, one team will have won a championship, and that's always making history. So yeah.
100%. And I think it's like, at the end of the day, this has been the most attended season in any women's sport league in Australia. It's been the most competitive women's football league, I would say, in the world this year, in terms of how many teams have been competing for final spots and titles right up until the very end.
Yeah.
We'll take the positives where we can, Cody, okay? Just
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
let's go fully professional and then we'll battle the rest of the world, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually some news. Did you guys see the news out of France today?
Maybe not.
I did share it to the story for any of you listening to home. Not that you'll be
vaguely.
able to
Didn't. I'll be honest. I
read
didn't
it.
really understand it.
France has a brand new football league for women. It'll be 200 plus players under full-time contracts and aim for 500,000 women licenses at schools and clubs. They're changing the name of D1 Feminine to Arkema Premier League, which will have 14 clubs starting in 26-27. So still 1 year of D1 Feminine as we're seeing it now, but it will change into its own French professional women's league with 2 tiers as the French league does have. But yeah, that's kind of exciting to kind of see that happen in France. Another fully professional option, which is fantastic. So, yeah, I don't think. Is there anything else we need to touch on this week, guys? Finals, semis.
Fifth Pro is they've announced that they're going to do I think it's over 3 years, something to do with the ACL in women's
I
football.
think it's a 3-year project researching into why ACLs have
That's
been
what.
so prominent in women's football.
Yeah. Was that the thing they kind of like hinted at potentially doing when everything was happening just after the World Cup? And
I think so.
yeah,
Maybe.
there was
I'm
something.
glad they're finally
Yeah, cool.
doing it.
It's fine. It didn't take as long as I think we were speculating it would. I think Cody, you said something about 3 to 5 years. So
I mean,
it
it's
took-
still.
but hey, at
They're
least
just starting
something's
now,
being
I thought
done.
they'd-
Hey, one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Another thing that I saw today is that Zambia might be disqualified from the Olympics. Who is the 4th team in our pool for the Olympics? I don't know exactly the allegations around that potential thing, but apparently
I think it's
Cody
It's
looks like he does know.
to do with the
money law-
men's team.
No, it's not the men's team. It's the president of the federation. I think.
There was also something to do with the men's team.
It was what do you call it? What's the term? Money laundering. So it's probably money laundering on the men's side of things.
Okay.
And unfortunately, because it's the president, the whole football
Federation
federation gets brought down. And considering their women's team is the only one that does anything, they're the ones that cop the flack. But you get allegations like that out of Africa all the time. I don't think anything. Be very.
They're facing a
shocking if it
FIFA
does.
ban apparently. So which would
if I had, I'd be a rich man.
would you?
Yeah. Well, I'd have
Okay.
$10.
But still, it happened 10 times. All right, guys.
But
This is a
those
nice,
nations didn't get banned or anything like that. So
yeah, interesting. We'll keep an eye on this space. I think that is everything this week. Any last fluttering thoughts before we say goodbye on the shortest episode since episode 0 this season? This is a new record for us. It's great. We're living our best lives.
I'll say this.
So sorry.
No matter what happens. I'll say this. No matter what happens this weekend, I will be happy. Or Indiana Dos Santos is an A-League Women trophy and Michelle Morris is happy come Monday recording. So, positive either way.
Look, I know who I'm going for just so we have a happy Monday recording.
But think about it, if Melbourne City win, we have a lot to say to Michelle as
the
No, I
fun
won't be over it.
neutrals. All right. Guys, we are going to wrap.
I will block you, so don't worry.
Cancel.
I won't be recording. Duh.
Ooh. All right, guys, we are going to wrap that episode up right there. Thank you for joining us this week. Make sure you are tuning in next week for our wrap up, and then make sure you are staying tuned to all our socials for the Concord Awards being presented to you from the I Want It Yesterday studios in Sydney. We are so excited to pump things up and end things on a high, and then it's all that's actually probably a good thing. We're then going to take about a month off and then reconvene for the Olympics. So little holiday for everyone coming up from our voices. Congratulations. We made it through our first year.
I will be in Europe.
Cody's never been happier to hear we're taking time off then.
I need all honesty.
That's a good. As long as I don't see you on social media attending award shows, Cody, I'll be fine.
Why are you going to hate, bro? I had a fun night.
I'm glad.
I can't wait for my
How do you know I
award
wasn't
show.
promoting Talking Tillies there?
Were you?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah, see? Handing out his own business cards. All right, before we waffle down another hole, see you next week.